Hello and welcome to this episode of Hospitality Talks. I'm over the moon to have Nisha Katona, the founder of Mowgli, with me today, especially seeing as that is absolutely one of my current favourite restaurant brands. Nisha, do you just want to tell anyone out there who doesn't know about yourself and doesn't know about Mowgli, who you are and what Mowgli is?
Yeah, absolutely. I am, as you say, Nisha Katona. I am the founder and the CEO of Mowgli Street Food. It was something that I started 10 years ago. We're now at 24 sites. And prior to that, I was a child protection barrister for 20 years. So I invested all my savings, the roof over my head, into building this business. And so I'm extremely careful about how I do that.
Well, I actually saw you speak about Mowgli at a Propel conference when you possibly had 5 or 6 sites, I think, at the time. So I don't know, you'll be able to date that better than I will. But one of the things that struck me is obviously that move. I'm sure you get asked this a million times a day, but that move from law into being a restaurateur. What were the transferable skills? What did you take from one to place into the other?
I think what is so wonderful, and I do champion this, is the fact that I'm an older woman building a business. I've got 1,000 employees. We have very low turnover. We have no problem recruiting and retaining. And I think that honestly is because I came to this from a different life, a life where I was meeting people at the lowest point of their life every day and understanding how to build hope back into their life and strengthening them. And so this is a business that is founded on one principle, and that is to enrich lives in the cities that we go to, starting with our people. Mm-hmm. And it works. You've got happy chefs, you've got cracking food, you've got happy teams, you've got brilliant service. And so that is the transferable skill, is that business about meeting humanity when it's at its cold face and injecting their life with purpose, nourishment, and fulfillment. And business can be as simple as that, and that's a beautiful way to go forward. You know, it's something that gets me out of bed every morning with renewed zeal. Is how do we make the lives of our people the best that they possibly can be?
And I don't think there could be a better mission than that. And I also believe that hospitality itself as an industry has the ability to do that with the people that are coming into our restaurants and our pubs and our bars, and the people that are working there as well. I have been to a couple of your restaurants. Now, you're primarily based outside of London. You've now got one in Charlotte Street, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, Charlotte Street. I got that during COVID. It was the only time I could afford it. I don't like to spend too much on my sites. Honestly, I just think, you know, the death of many a decent restaurant enterprise are extortionate rents. Yes. And so, yes, the bulk. And also, my gosh, outside of London needs social capital. Totally. Do you know what I mean? This is the thing. If I go to, if I need to go and eat out, I'm going down to London to do it. That's not fair. It's not right. People with decent, with food that is good for you, that is authentic and of a culture that is fascinating, should be building their restaurants outside of London as well. So it's really important that I built it outside of London, but now I'm opening Stratford, for instance, Mowgli Stratford in a matter of weeks. I've got Charlotte Street, so there's lots coming up. We're doing more in London, but it was extremely important to me to build something that benefits communities outside of London. London's got the best food in the world. Yes, Preston is another question. Yeah.
My son actually went to your Liverpool, one of your Liverpool, you got 2, I think, in Liverpool, haven't you, last week. And then he heard I was interviewing you today, and he just said, can you please tell her it's my favourite place to go? And all of my friends go there. And I said, what makes it so great? And he said, it's just really good. You know that you're going to get really good food, and that the service is going to be great, and that the choice is great, and the quality is great. I mean, he's 21. What does he know? But actually, they are they're the customers of the future. They're the people we want to be saying great things about us, right?
100%. That means, honestly, it means the world to me. I still take this extremely. Every person that comes in, I'm in Mowgli every single day. Every forkful that goes into somebody's mouth, I think that those are my recipes. That is the taste of my home. The welcome is how you would feel walking into our living room. That's the greatest endorsement, is that your son says that. Yeah. Well, you thank him profusely. Because, when I hear that, Katy, you took the time to say that to me, it means I will go into the day to make sure I keep that reputation. Yes. And that is what a founder does to a brand, is you conveyed that to me. If it wasn't the founder, who you have said that to? You know what I mean? It means the world. And it makes me redouble my efforts to make sure I retain that I'm good enough for him, honestly.
Yeah, well, that's again a wonderful attitude to have, and again why the brand is so successful. So you don't have problems with service because you don't have problems with staff, as you say. You look after them, you retain them, and therefore you don't struggle to recruit. You don't struggle to keep the people that you have. Where are the issues? I mean, obviously the cost of living crisis, consumer confidence, all of those areas. We are also here to talk about a particular initiative that you are part of. Tell me where the issues for Mowgli actually are when it comes to cost, etc.
Exactly what you say. You know, we are at one of the lowest points of consumer confidence that I've come across. And I understand that. And I think as interest rates begin to soften, we've got a budget coming up, for instance, but, you know, we've been through an election, etc. So it's absolutely understandable why people are all at sea and holding on to, you know, absolutely guarding their purse strings with their lives. Absolutely understand. What we mustn't do in hospitality is we mustn't lose faith, and we mustn't lose our nerve and change our brands into something that is going to damage them forever, because it will come back. Yeah. But while consumer confidence is low, and while people are eating out less frequently, which they absolutely are doing, we need to keep really tight control on absolutely all of our outgoings. And there are so many of them. The supply chain is one of them, for instance, but things like, and this is why I'm so passionate about smart meters, energy, that's one of those aspects that just comes out of your bank account, and you're firefighting with everything else, and we very often overlook that. So what I found was really helpful, it's just having another Marshall, really, is having smart meters in the restaurants, because that is one way of monitoring in real time what you're using, and as a result, operationally, you can tweak things that absolutely plug these gaps of finance leaking out of your estate at the time when not everybody's eating out in the way that they were. So things like, because of smart meters, we understood what time energy was being used most. And so we started to bring our shit in a bit later, because what they were doing, sweet things were coming in at, crack of dawn, putting the hobs on to keep warm and all the lights on, like a lad's bedroom. And as a result, just changing the rota a little bit, putting timers on lights, making sure that the grill isn't just running because you can't be bothered switching off. Absolutely is like having somebody in finance dedicated only to energy consumption.
Yeah, and of course, it's an age-old story that it is easier to save money than to make money sometimes. So actually, either way, you are adding to the bottom line. So all of those particular initiatives that you put inside the restaurants, what is the overarching idea of the smart meters then?
It is that. It's to help people take control of their finances. It's really important. I think what I'm passionate about is entrepreneurs starting businesses. And for those small businesses to survive, and to do that, there are so many things that you have to juggle. And the reason I'm passionate about smart meters is because that's one thing where you can get this. Just go online, see if you're eligible, and you sign up and get a smart meter fitted. And that is one thing that will help you survive. It's that being able to financially plan is the most important thing, because we as entrepreneurs can get so swept up in the emotion of things and the product that we forget the grunting element of all of those outgoings, keeping constantly on top of your supply chain, making sure you're getting the best prices almost every week. It's exactly as you say, Katy. Saving money is the same as making money, where you've got to get into the mindset where, if your chicken is coming in at a certain, a couple of pennies less, then that's like taking £10 off the shelf and putting it into your bottom line. If you know to switch lights off, it's like finding a fiver on the table. Just, I think it's been costing businesses about £350 a month in loss by not having, monitoring your energy outgoing. That is how many covers, that's like 10 people walking into your restaurant. You wouldn't turn them away. So it's just, I'm really passionate about anything that helps business survive. Really, because entrepreneurism, growing an economy, small businesses surviving, creating jobs, this is what will revive the economy. This is what will, resurrect the investment community. It's what keeps the lights on in our high street. People who go and open their own restaurants and start their own little shops. That is what gives people a reason to live in the cities that they choose. I get very passionate about it. Sorry, but honestly, hospitality.
I love passion. I think some of the research that I saw said that energy energy costs was the sort of number one thing that business owners would, would like more time to deal with. And actually, as a small business owner myself, having read that research, I am going to go off and do some of my own sort of looking at costs. And actually, CAM research that we've done with publicans, we speak to around 2,000 publicans for a research program we have called the Licensee Index, and energy costs comes out as number one for their concerns. Why do you think it is that, I mean, I change my energy provider at home whenever I can, whenever I see that I could be on a better deal. Why do you think it is that energy costs, although it's a massive concern for hospitality business owners and business owners in general, why are we not doing enough about it? Is it because it's been too difficult traditionally?
Well, I tell you what, it's because it's a kind of latent concern. We have to come in and switch the lights on and the hobs on, but then you will walk into an office that you switch the lights on to 15 other more pressing problems. The chicken hasn't turned up, someone's called in sick, the tills have broken, the app has broken, a leg of a table has fallen off in a boardroom. All of these things that are imminent and pressing. Whereas energy is this latent egress of finance out of business. So we don't focus it, it's faceless, isn't it? It's faceless. It doesn't have a voice. It doesn't knock on you, it doesn't tap you on the shoulder saying, I'm just going to, chuck a tenner out the window. We've left some lights on. So it's that. So it's not always in your mind. And that is, and therefore it sort of sits as a spectre in the corner of the room, this shadowy anxiety I've got. So when you speak to business owners, and you ask them what their anxieties are, it's often those big dark shadows in the corners where you think, oh my goodness, electricity, energy, I haven't thought about that, because to cite the tills and to cite the, the people calling in sick feels trite in comparison. But I think it's 43% of people say that is their primary concern. But this is great because it's something that you can do something about very easily. I found that's why I found the smart meters really helps. I had no idea about them at all. And then I looked into it. And I think that's what's so interesting. I think about the energy crisis that we had when everybody's bills went up X 100%, where suddenly this is not something that you can overlook. You've got to keep going back to your suppliers, keep negotiating. There are so many facets to this, Katie. It's things like, those subscriptions that you sign up to that you forget to cancel. It's just like that.
Oh gosh, bane of my life. Yep.
Exactly. And if we won't let those ride in our domestic lives, then we darn well shouldn't be letting them ride in our commercial lives. It's the same husbandry, domestic husbandry and commercial husbandry. It's really handy to keep both of those. And I think that's another really good advantage for being an older woman who's run a household, paying the bills, goes up and switches the lights off and turns the heating down and all of that. It makes you a great guardian of a business's purse strings.
Yeah, I 100% agree. In fact, I was having a conversation last night with somebody where I was asked a bit about, my childhood and growing up. And I said, well, one of the reasons I think that I run my own business and I run it well, if I do say so myself, is because when I was younger, I used to go into Safeway with my mum and a calculator because we didn't have any money. And we had a certain amount that we could spend every week on groceries. And, once we got to that £20 or that £25, whatever it was she had, we had to stop or we put things back and we swapped things over. And so I think that was a good learning for me. I wouldn't have seen that at the time, because at the time all I wanted was a new pair of trainers. But, I think that was a really good learning. So you sound like you're quite positive about the future. So, I mean, for Mowgli, of course, you should be, because it's an amazing brand and it very obviously has a positive future ahead of it. But how do you feel about this consumer confidence crisis that we're in, this cost of living crisis? What more could we be doing as businesses and as hospitality in general?
100%. So hospitality and retail, I think it's the same affliction, isn't it? That people have just got less money. They're coming out in a different pattern. So what we're seeing now is that people are coming out at the weekends and spending more money, but they're not coming out midweek and spending, there's not the low spend. The most important thing, honestly, is we have got to be really fair with our pricing. We have to be, to get people back out. So one thing a couple of things that will happen is that, let's see, people, the amount of money coming into households will increase. As there are wage increases. There's then the interest rate drop. So there'll be more disposable income. But we have to be conscionable in our pricing. I've always been really proud about, in Mowgli, if you're £25, two of you can come and fill a table full of food and eat it. It's really important that there are those places on the menu where people can come in, like your son, who will be on a student budget. If we are no use to him no use to anyone. That is our lifeline. That is the future. Do you know what I mean? We'll have shuffled off our mortal coils in 30 years. He won't. He'll be, bringing his family in. It's really important, honestly. So for me, the most important thing is that you've got to be reasonably priced. That's me.
Yeah.
I'm not a high-end restaurant. I wouldn't know how to even approach a high-end, restaurant with whatever steak or foie gras as an ingredient. Do you know what I mean? This is about street food. It's home-style street food, and so where you can, you've got to be fair on the pricing, and that means you're keeping in constant contact with your suppliers, getting those margins to maximise the best that you can, so that you can get those prices to where people think, miserable Tuesday lunchtime, I've got 15 quid in my pocket, I'm going to Mowgli.
That's what I'm going to do. I mean, you're absolutely right. And you use, I'm very pleased to hear you use the phrase fair, fair pricing, because we know from CAM research that the consumer idea of value for money is not about price. It's about, what did I get the experience that I paid for, essentially? And if fair pricing is part of that, then you're going to keep those consumers. Nisha, thank you so much. We have run out of time. I could speak to you all day.
Likewise, actually, it's so lovely to chew the cud, because
well, thank you so much. And what we'll do as well is we'll pop, when we release this episode, we will pop some details about smart meters into the comments, so that anybody out there who is running a small business, whether it's hospitality or not, hopefully can take some of Nisha's advice and click through to some links that's going to help them. So Nisha, thank you so much for your time.